Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm reviewing a book which we've reviewed before. It's a first-class book and I think it's a specialist book in its own field. It's Saggerson on travel law and litigation. It's now in a 6th edition and it's been written by a number of people. Matthew Chapman, Queen's Counsel, Sarah Prager and Jack Harding. Now the book comes to us from Wildy, Simmonds and Hill Publishing, and it's one of a number of books they produce for us as practitioners, which I find very, very helpful because they explain things in a very simple way, and the books are also very helpful for those people who are unrepresented parties, of which there are a very large number today. Now Elizabeth and I looked at this book, and for our book review we gave it a title as follows: This Definitive Main Work on Travel Law, now in a new edition for 2017. And that's exactly what we've got here. Let's have a look at the book first of all. It's now a blue cover. There we go. It's been a different cover over the years. It's a blue cover. You can see there's the front, there's the spine, and there's nothing on the back itself. Now it's quite a heavy book because it's a hardback. And what we're talking about with the index, there's the index at the back. The index actually is by page numbering, so it should be relatively easy to find things. It's quite a detailed index as well, which is very helpful. And it starts, as I say, right at the back of the book there. References are to page numbers, it says there. Then just before the index you have the appendices, and they're quite useful to have. And then if we go to the front of the book, you can see there's the first main page there. Then you can see after that you have some basic blurb, and then there's a foreword. The foreword is always worth reading because it's a new and updated statement of what's actually in the book. It's been written by Alan Saggerson, who is a circuit judge, dated October 2016. So it's a little bit old now because I'm recording this in the autumn of 2017. That's the preface, again from the three authors, and then there's a contents section there which sets out what the book is about. It's an important book for anybody travelling, and at this particular time I think it's an important book because you are dealing with a lot of different aspects of travel. The total number of chapters are in fact 14. And then after that you have a series of appendices, 3 main appendices which are listed there. You can see the chapters and the appendices. Then you get a very useful list of abbreviations. There are a lot of abbreviations in travel law, many of which you probably don't remember. So it's useful to have that as an aide-memoire. Then of course you've got the case law, nice bit of case law there. Then table of various pieces of legislation. You've got the statutes themselves, then you've got the statutory instruments which are there. Then after that you've got the European legislation, which will be with us for a long time, Brexit or no Brexit. And then after that you've got international conventions, because we're talking about, of course, international travel and all the rules that cover it. Then there are codes of conduct, guidance and so forth, and then there's national legislation by country. And then we get to the chapters. There's chapter 1, regulated package contracts, and you see footnoting, and there's paragraph numbering at the side, so you should be able to find things fairly easily, and you can see how it runs through. This bit is on travel agents, for instance. There runs to about 840 pages, something like that. It's been thoroughly revised, and I think it's an excellent definitive work. Anyway, this is what we say. The travel industry and travellers have often been in the news of late, actually on a regular basis it seems at the moment. The most recent, most spectacular incident being that of a passenger dragged off a United Airlines aircraft, and according to reports getting his nose broken and a couple of teeth knocked out in the process. Of course, that's just one of quite a large number of problems that have been engulfing the travel industry probably in the last 12 months. Mine must be a nuisance, this guy, having suffered that. Imagine the temerity of the man, thinking he would defy the airline's overbooking policy. And I'm not going to mention any airlines now about that problem because it's an ongoing issue with quite a large number of carriers. It's sad to reflect on the airline's original advertising slogan, fly the friendly skies of United. So if you're a lawyer, you're already aware that there's a rather vast and ever-increasing body of law pertaining to the vicissitudes of travel, and you will also be familiar with the definitive legal text on the subject, which is this one here, Saggerson on Travel Law and Litigation. Good news for the beleaguered traveller is that, and the travel lawyer, coping with the dizzying pace of change in this area, is that Saggerson is now in its sixth sixth edition, from Wildy, Simmonds and Hill. They say it's got over 800 pages, 14 chapters. It covers virtually every conceivable aspect of travel law, from accidents to hotels and timeshares to travel agents to criminal offences and offences and defences and more. Interestingly, in the light of recent events, there are several references to denied boarding. This is becoming a common occurrence, I would hasten to add. And there's a chapter in the book which concerns carriage of passengers and baggage, which examines the denied boarding regulation in some detail. And I would suggest that that's going to become more prevalent in future, as some of the flying at customers do tend to go completely over the top, if I can use that expression. The pivotal chapter, of course, is chapter 1, which you should read at the beginning. It's on regulated package contracts, and that will be of relevance, I think, to the travelling public. I think all estate agents, all travel agents, should actually have this book in their offices, so they've got some reference material. But as I say, the package contracts themselves are very relevant, because the package travel regulation of 1992 was implemented in the United Kingdom as the package travel directive, and the aim of it was basically to protect consumers and guarantee standards on package travel, holidays and tours. And I'm glad to see that obviously there is some protection for the customer, because in most cases they're spending a lot of money up front and then they start having possible problems. And that's an ongoing difficulty, as I've said. Now, since the 5th edition of Saggerson came out in 2013, there's been a new package travel directive. That's 2015/2302, which came from the European Commission in the dizzying days before we decided to leave the EU. Now, the Commission produced this on package travel and linked arrangements. And that means that if you're a travel lawyer, you'll need this book, because that gives you the grounding of where we are at the moment. What arrangements we have in the future, who knows, because we have no idea what sort of arrangements will be around in a post-Brexit Britain. Now, be warned that by the 3 experts who wrote this book, that the new edition, that the law in this field never stands still. And even as I record this, there have been and there are going to be changes in what goes on, especially following, as I say, Brexit and the possible, probable, unknowable repercussions, which are discussed in the editor's preface and the foreword by Alan Saggerson himself. The legal implications relating to the practice of travel law, he says, are likely to emerge in the manner in which English law famously exceeds, slowly and carefully. I confidently predict, he adds, that the array of consumer protections born of the European Commission over the last 40 years will remain in place for a long time to come. Not much will soon change then, so relax. Well, having said that, things are changing at a bit of a pace. Undeniably, this is a fascinating area of law on which this book offers a thorough and lucid examination. It's easy to navigate. It provides extensive footnoted references, plus tables of cases, statutes, statutory instruments, the European legislation, which will be with us, of course, for a while, international conventions, codes of conduct, guidance, etc. And also it covers the national legislation of the countries, which I think is important depending on which country you are actually going to be visiting. As just about everybody travels these days, every lawyer should acquire a copy of the latest edition of Saggerson, because I do think it's an important book to know about in case you have a problem. Now, the law is as stated at the 29th of September 2016, and the book was published in 2017. Now, let's just have another look at it. There it is again. That's actually the book itself. As I say, it's a hardback. It's a heavy book. Just opening it in the middle. Non-regulated contracts. There we go. We've got the structure of the book here. You can see the paragraph numbering. It's not emboldened, so it's not the easiest thing to find. You've got a lot of the footnotes also at the bottom. And again, running through, this is international conventions, carriage of passengers and baggage, an important area in its own right. And it gets very emotive very quickly when people lose things or damage things. Then at the back you have the various appendices. This is the Appendix 2, Package Travel Regulations 1992, all set out there. All in all, I think this is a very important book. I'm very grateful to Wildy, Simmonds and Hill for actually publishing it again. It's been around now for a long time, and I think it's absolutely first class as a statement of the law in this area. It affects a lot of people, and of course it's a mix of both contract and tort anyway, and of course a bit of crime possibly thrown in. So you've got all sorts of interesting aspects of substantive law to consider. Thank you anyway very much to the authors, and of course to the original creator of it, Alan Saggerson himself. All the very best to you with your travel. Bye bye.